My husband, George. Oh, every night I wrote him a letter, and he wrote as often as he could, which was pretty often. Well, at that time, women didn't have cars and everything and didn't drive like they do now. And whatever I did, you'd stay downtown St. Paul and do, like, I was on a bowling team, you went to movies and everything, and then took the bus back home because you didn't have, unless, you know, there was somebody there with a car, which couldn't be any other man because Grandpa would have had a fit. And then he went out to California, and he went across on a ship, which took, I think it was 2 weeks it took him to get there. And everybody was seasick, and you wanted to always have the top bunk, he said, because everybody was thrown up. You didn't want to be down below because everybody, and they had the big trash cans on the decks, and he said they were always full of people, their heads down in them. They were sick all the whole way over. All the time you're thinking, he's going to leave. But you didn't have a choice. I went to work every day, and I would turn over my calendar on my desk, and I'd have the number of days left. It was like 400 and something when we started, you know, and everything. It was really, and they just one by one until finally he was coming home. He grew up. Grew up a lot. Sure, you mature when you're in the service like that. It was 2 years, you know, he was gone, and he was 2 years older. Well, he got to be a sergeant, so he had men under him. And they lived in tents in Korea, and their weather was just like ours in the winter, so it was really cold. And they didn't have any electricity, and I remember him saying that they had, down the middle of this long tent was sand, and in that sand they had a stove, which it was very, where you know, they could have fires very easily, you know. So the sand was around, and they did have a fire one night, and the tent burned. Dear John letters were when the girl back home would write and say she'd found somebody else, and he did have somebody in his unit when he was a sergeant that put his gun in his mouth and shot himself after one of the Dear John letters. And they were so lonesome, he said at night you just hear sobbing. Yeah, it breaks your heart. I don't think we were really prepared for this war, because when he came home from boot camp, he only had 2 pairs of socks, Army, you know, khaki ones, and they both had holes in them. And they had no more socks to issue him. When he got over there, then I would send him warm things for his feet, and at that time they were called mucklucks. These big knit things, you know, that went up to here, and he would wear them when he came in at night. Halfway through his time over in Korea, they had what they called R&R, and it meant rest and recuperation, and he was sent to Japan. This was one of the things he sent me home, was this purse. And then he also sent home a complete set of china. This whole set arrived in a huge wooden crate packed with straw, and there wasn't a single piece that was broken. They had pictures painted on silk, and they were big silk scarves. Well, I didn't know what I was going to use the scarves for, so way afterward I cut. This is my graduation picture from school, and this was a picture of him when he was in boot camp. I could show him a picture. He looks so young here. He looks so very, very young. And then we have some pictures here of when he was in Korea, and they were digging their, I suppose you'd call them foxholes, but they were bigger than that. They were bunkers. But you can see here, like the trees and everything by Old Baldy and Pork Chop Hill, they were so shelled from the war that they're nothing but the trunks of the tree. Oh yeah, there were pathetic little kids that would come and hang around the camps, so they were orphans. My husband had a soft heart, and he said he'd like to have brought them home. He had a scholarship to go to St. John's for basketball.
Oh.
And when he came home, he probably could have gone on some kind of a GI Bill or something, but then we decided to get married and everything.